Today I'm sharing a couple of my favorite small batch recipes for two. I live in a 2-person, 1-dog household, and even when I cut recipes in half, we often end up with leftovers. And we can only eat leftovers for so long. So I've come up with some small batch recipes that make exactly enough for 2 people. Let's get started. I'm going to start with the chicken pot pie recipe. Melt 2 tablespoons of butter in a skillet. And once your butter has completely melted, you can add onions and carrots. I like to grate my onions and carrots, but you can dice them, just do whatever works for you. Cook these until softened. Once your onions and carrots are soft, now it's time to add the garlic. I like to add garlic a little bit further into the cooking process because I don't want it to burn. Add your minced garlic and let that cook for about 30 seconds. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons of flour to this mixture and stir that. You want to constantly stir this because you don't want this to burn either, and you'll cook this for about 1 to 2 minutes, just long enough for the raw flour taste to cook out. A little bit at a time, add chicken stock and stir it to incorporate the stock after each addition. You may need to break out a whisk for this if there are any lumps. You want to make sure that those are completely broken up and that you end up with a very smooth sauce. Stir in 1/4 cup of heavy cream. This gives the dish a lot of delicious flavor and richness. So now you want to season this with some sage, some thyme, and some salt and pepper. I love this pepper grinder. I will link it in the description down below, but it's battery operated and it has a little light so you can kind of see where everything is going. Add frozen peas and shredded chicken. And you just want to stir that and let it cook for a little bit until the peas are completely thawed out. You're just warming this through. Divide your filling into 2 6-ounce ramekins. Now it's time for puff pastry. I like this refrigerated puff pastry, but you can also use frozen puff pastry that has been thawed. I always try to keep puff pastry on hand because it has a lot of uses. Unroll your pastry and just cut off as much as you need. I usually end up cutting out, a very large rectangle, as you can see here, and then I divide that in half. So I cut this in half and then I roll it out a little bit with a rolling pin so that it fits the top of the ramekins just a little bit better. You may or may not need to do this with your pastry. Cover the top of each ramekin and pinch around the edge to seal. Be sure to cut a few holes in the top of each pot pie so that the steam can escape. Brush the tops of each pot pie with heavy cream in order to help with browning as they bake. Bake these at the temperature and time that is indicated on your puff pastry. Mine was 425 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. And here is the finished product, flaky and golden brown. This goes really well with a salad on the side. Honestly, it is a complete meal because you've got your vegetables, you've got your meat, you've got pretty much everything. Next, I'm making lasagna for 2. To make this recipe, you'll need 2 cups of your favorite meat sauce. I'll link my recipe in the description down below. 1/2 cup of cottage cheese, 1 egg, 1 to 1.5 cups of mozzarella cheese, 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese, 3 lasagna noodles, 1/2 tablespoon of dried parsley, 1 teaspoon of garlic salt, and a dash of black pepper. The first thing to do is rehydrate your lasagna noodles. I actually just like to do this by pouring boiling water over the top of them. It just seems to work better for me than cooking them on the stovetop. I set my noodles aside and got started on the filling. In a small bowl, combine Parmesan cheese, cottage cheese, egg, garlic salt, parsley, pepper, and stir to combine. When it comes to assembling my lasagna, I like to use one of these foil loaf pans. Spread about half a cup of sauce on the bottom of your pan. I like to use my basic meat sauce. I always keep some in the freezer. If you don't have this on hand, you can brown some sausage or ground beef and add that to some plain pasta sauce, or you can go meatless and make this a vegetarian lasagna. Next, lay a noodle on top of the sauce. Now, because you're using a loaf pan, you are going to have to cut these noodles to fit. I just use kitchen scissors, it's super easy, and you may need to piece them together, but that's okay. Spread 1/3 of the filling mixture on top of the noodle, and then top with mozzarella cheese. Spread some sauce over the mozzarella cheese, and repeat these layers until you run out of the filling. The top layer should be noodles, sauce, and mozzarella cheese. Now cover this with foil. I like to spray mine with some oil to help prevent sticking. Bake this at 400 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. Uncover and bake for an additional 10 minutes to brown the cheese a little bit. It will have a lot of liquid when it comes out of the oven. That's okay. You just want to make sure that you give it time to reabsorb. Be sure to let this stand for 10 to 15 minutes before you cut into it. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it gave you some good ideas for your small household. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel by clicking on the red button below. This really helps my channel grow and gives more people the opportunity to watch my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!